What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the review and discussion for UnOrdinary episode 294. 294. We'll go with that. We'll go with that one. Anyway, honestly, pretty good episode, all things considered so far. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. So episode starts off with Kaden and Kuyo going out to drink like they said they would after passing their test, and yeah, so they go out for drinks together. Now, while together, Kuyo wonders if Kaden is really part of the same organization as Liam, a murderer. Taking note of Kaden's behavior and his demeanor and everything, how relaxed he is. Especially, he also wonders why Kaden wants to be a healer, like a doctor, basically. He even asks Kaden why he's studying pre-med and asks if it's something that his parents forced him to do. Kaden gives us a reveal that I honestly wasn't expecting, and he just casually drops that his parents died a long time ago. So Kuyo asks, are your parents forcing you to go into this? And he just says, oh no, my parents died a long time ago. But when Kuyo apologized, Kaden mentions that he has a guardian who treats him very well and is now paying for his studies. Now, I at first thought it was going to be Layla who was his guardian, but then I realized, no, it's probably Neil. And of course, it is Neil. So, like with Layla, he took Kaden in as well. And he even mentions that Neil gave him the confidence for his intellect when his ability isn't that strong, isn't that combative. He even begins saying that he doesn't believe people's futures should be dependent on their ability. And then Kuyo reflects that this is stuff that Ray used to preach about. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting, like a nice little parallel. We're learning more about Liam in a way that I honestly don't mind. And honestly, I do hope that Liam ends up actually being a good guy. I hope Uru doesn't do some crazy bait and switch on us. But yeah, it's also interesting that Kaden has dead family in his life, kind of similar to what we can assume Doc's mom or sister, whoever that was. So yeah, pretty interesting there. And also, it seems like Kaden and Layla are kind of like siblings, depending on how quickly. Actually, now that I think about it, real quick, who did Miranda take in? Because and what kind of person is she like? So we have Oren, the manipulator, who took in Terrence, and as soon as Terrence was no longer a convenience to him, had him killed. He's also recruited Liam and Candace, though probably not under the conditions like this. Probably not because, let's be real, Liam and Candace probably don't have their abilities. They were probably recruited to be soldiers like the rest of the high tiers. Then Neil took in Layla and Kaden, a god tier and an elite tier, I believe Kaden is. Yeah, Caden's an elite tier. So, and he seems to be more kind, more compassionate, more wanting to actually help. So I am curious what kind of person Miranda's going to be like, and I'm curious what kind of people or person Miranda has adopted. Is she just kind of like a neutral person? Like, she just like, oh yeah, I'll take you off the streets. Okay. Like, no problem. Bye. So we'll have to wait and see. So, nonetheless. So yeah, kind of interesting to think about, honestly, and realize. And also, more glimpses into what Ray was like too, which is always appreciated. So, Kaden then mentions Doc not needing his ability to heal whatsoever. And that's another thing real quick that I've thought about before. Whether or not Doc's ability, I mean, I always, I think we all assume that Doc's ability never factored into how he heals people with his tonics. So it's nice that Uru kind of drops this confirmation as well that, no, it's just all Doc's genius, and that's really cool. That being said, I would still really love to see Doc fight with his ability. I would love to see how he uses Nightmare. I want to see how John uses Nightmare. But yeah. So, yeah. So, Kuyo then asks if Doc is the one who really healed John and Sarah, even though Caden said he took them to the hospital. Caden immediately covers up, saying that Doc works at the hospital. And Kuyo's just like, if he works at the hospital, why don't you call him a doctor? Why do you keep calling him the chem whiz? So, yeah. But Caden then deflects himself, asking why Kuyo is studying so hard when he's a high tier person. Kuyo then retorts that he wants to prove high tiers with physical advantages don't have to fight all the time, but yet he's a vigilante, so I'm not too sure if his answer was actually... Well, no, I'm sure Kuyo wants to be like a doctor, but it is kind of interesting when he is always fighting. He's a vigilante, so he's always risking his life and stuff. So, yeah. You could also argue, and I thought this myself, he is a healer in the sense that he's protecting lower tier districts and fighting for them when the authorities refuse to do so. So, yeah, high tiers definitely can be healers, even though sometimes it costs them their life. And I wonder if Uru's going to kill off Kuyo, actually. Huh. Anyway, as they both toast in agreement, Kuyo then wonders if Caden is putting on an act the whole time, even though he seems to genuinely care about people. And Caden just thinks, dang, Kuyo really likes to try and get into people's business, doesn't he? So, at Wellston, John and Sarah are walking around, and Sarah notices John's demeanor and asks if he's okay. He opens up and then saying that he wished he was always wishing there would be more people like the vigilantes. Again, we saw this back when in the earlier episodes with him and Sarah at Woba Boba. But when they presented themselves to him, Remy and Blyke, he was not only too blind by his rage to recognize him, he also tried to take them down. He tried to belittle them and take down all their accomplishments one by one. But Sarah tells him that he can't keep being mad at himself and that he needs to reflect on what's important, the fact that they're not enemies anymore. John then asks Sarah why she wasn't surprised when they were talking about everything yesterday, and she tells him that she's known for a while, and he asks Sarah why she never told him. But, I never let this slide with Arlo. I can't let it slide with John. Sarah tried to tell John at least once. I think a few times, but at least definitely once. She tried to tell John, but John, of course, as Sarah puts it, wasn't in the right state of mind and refused to listen. So, yeah, she tried to tell you, John, but, you know, I got to call you out when I have to, buddy. She tried to tell you, you just were not wanting to hear anyone at that point in time. But So yeah. Sorry, John. John then wonders how much he's missed out on and how behind he is compared to everyone. And Sarah tells him that it's okay, that they'll get him caught up. But John says it's not okay because of everything, all the mistakes he's done. He then does a bit more reflecting on himself, and then he makes a promise to himself that he wants to become someone he can be proud of. And I talked about this in my reaction. This, I feel, is honestly the best John moment in the series as of now. This is the best John moment. Like, all of John's fights are always cool. They're always fun to read. It's interesting seeing how John uses abilities and everything. But John's best moments always come from his actual character. Whether that be the earlier episodes where we see him protect others, protect Terrence back when we thought Terrence was going to be an ally, go against Arlo and showing Arlo why he wanted to be left alone the whole time, standing up to Sarah when he was posing as a cripple, even John's darker moments where he wanted to take down the Royals and did just because of his conviction. John's best moments are always centered around his character and who he is as a person. This is the best moment because this is the first time, and this is one of the first times in the series where John has just outwardly said, I'm tired of, well, okay, he doesn't really say this, but it can really be interpreted as this. I'm tired of hating myself. I want to be someone who I can be proud of. And like I mentioned in my reaction, this isn't about Sarah. This isn't about William. It's not about Arlo. It's not about Remy, Blyke, Isa. It's not about anyone else. It's John finally wanting to start accepting himself and saying to himself, I'm going to be someone I can be proud of. And that's beautiful. And I really like that Uru incorporated that in the story now. Honestly, I think this is the perfect time to have incorporated this into the story. Yeah, it could have been incorporated when John was starting to accept his ability before getting disabled. But like I said, even though I don't agree with that decision that Uru made, I still agree, and I still really like the decision she's made with the story since then. And she's doing an amazing job with the story. So yeah, this is definitely the best John moment in the series for me, personally. So after that, Sarah just, looks at John. She doesn't say anything. She just smiles at him. But finally, we catch up to Arlo. We haven't seen him in a while, and it was about 10 episodes since we last saw him. Yeah, if I was right. I don't know. Anyway, he is really tired. Really tired. He's drained from work. He's drained from school and everything. And all the while, he also thinks about what to do with Remy, Blyke, and Ison. He's reflecting on the papers that he saw, the files that he saw of them from the authorities. And he now sees that, and we now can see they are up for expulsion, but also the readjustment classes. And he wonders what to do with them. He then goes to the safe house to find John and ask if they can talk. And then, while they're on the roof outside away from everyone else, he asks John about the readjustment classes and what it's like. And John wonders how Arlo knows about that. Now, I said in the reaction, how this conversation goes depends entirely on Arlo. Arlo needs to finally think for once, and he can't just, I know he's tired, I know he's worn out and everything. He's probably not in the most patient mood right now, but he really needs to think about how he approaches John in this situation. John could very easily explode because this is still a very sensitive topic for John. And even with Sarah, even during talking about it with Spectre, he couldn't fully talk about it. And Sarah had to mention everything for him. So, yeah. Arlo could once again, actually unintentionally this time, ruin John, or break John a little bit and stutter his development again. Now, John could just be like, I don't want to talk about this, goodbye. And Arlo could probably go to Sarah to talk about it. Or Arlo can go to Ison, because I believe Solo brought it up last week that Sarah did have Ison look into what readjustment classes are like, and she was able to locate Keon's information and see that his ability is memory recall, which she was able to successfully theorize that Keon was playing John's worst memories on repeat during the readjustment classes and everything. So, yeah. I'm excited and scared to see where the next episode goes. But who knows? Arlo isn't the most careful person when it comes to people's feelings. But that is going to be it when it comes to episode 294. And honestly, a little bit biased for me, but John's moment really, really elevates this episode for me. So maybe unfairly, but I gotta give this episode a level 10. This episode was great, and I love the John moments because I love John. You guys know that. So that will be it for this video, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know what you all thought about down below in the comments, and as always, everyone, see you, Space Cowboy.